Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Saturday HOA Brunch, presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. Please sit back, relax, and join Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick for an hour of entertaining information about HOAs and HOA law.
Good morning. It's the Saturday HOA Brunch, your regular scheduled programming on Saturday mornings from 9 to 10 a.m.
Brad Epstein here, Jonathan Broderick there. We're Angius&Terry.
Oh, yeah, we are. And we are the Saturday HOA Brunch. I think Frank Jolly, our production engineer, says we're the #1 community association radio talk show in America.
In the world, he says.
In
clearly.
the world. Wow, excellent. What do you think the weather's going to be like today?
Let me look outside the window. Oh,
Your
once
favorite.
again,
It's
balmy.
gonna be balmy.
Balmy weather.
Balmy. Well, we are the Saturday HOA Brunch. You can like us on Facebook or give us a call with your questions, 888-923-1380.
888-923-1380.
Or you can visit our website and listen to previous episodes, www.thesaturdayhoabrunch.com.
No battle of the board members today, right, Jonathan Fever?
We didn't want to take any of the gusto of the 4th of July away, so we are going to go ahead and postpone Battle of the Board Members until next week.
Yeah, it's so nice that our board members do come in and be contestants on our show. We love that part of it, and that's why a lot of our listeners listen. They like to play along, but we want to give our board members a break today. Let them have fun with their family and friends and fireworks, right?
Yeah, might as well. I think
fireworks and associations, right?
That's a nuisance. And I think we're talking about nuisances and board hearings today, right?
Nuisances and community associations and processes for handling.
Well, that's that's going to be something that we discuss, and I think there's going to be a lot of issues today with fireworks going off in Sacramento County.
And with us, as always, is Frank Jolly giving us the business, right?
He just honored us. He just walked into the studio and is sitting here hanging out.
I wish all our listeners could be here with us. It's a crack up. So, 888-923-1380. We're going to talk about nuisances and community associations and processes for handling nuisances, focusing on board hearings. There's a lot of confusion about board hearings. We're going to talk about that, special individual assessments, fines, and the like.
I know Battle of the Board Members gets intense on our show, but I've been to board hearings, and you want to talk about a room that can fill up with steam quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I like to do best.
Tranquilize the member that shows up at the hearing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So if a board holds a hearing, then they can really solve the nuisance violations.
Yeah. What are some of the most common nuisances that you run into or have ran into over the last 20 years?
Oh, easy. People, pets, and parking.
People, pets, and parkings. P cubed.
Right. So it's people partying too hard. It's dogs barking too much. It's cars in the wrong places.
That's it. You don't park your car on the lawn.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
We do joke, but yes, we jest. People, pets, and parking are important, but we know what's more important as the infrastructure, the buildings themselves.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you do the maintenance, repair, and replacement in the right ways. And we'll get to that in next episodes, right? Maybe we'll do that the next one.
Yeah, well, we got two. We're going to have a couple of ladies from First Service Residential on next week.
Well, that's right. First Service Residential.
Yeah.
We're going to have
one of the biggest management companies. I think they're in the country, too. Right? They're an IPO, publicly traded, huge, heavy hitters.
We're going to have two of their top people right here in studio,
right?
Yeah,
from Northern California. I think it's Julia Plummer and Catherine Hendrickson.
That's right, Julia Plummer and Catherine Hendrickson. Excellent. I can't wait.
They'll be exciting.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh,
Frank's
it's going to be
doing
great.
jumping jacks in the back.
Yeah, we're going to probably have a lot of listeners listen in just for that purpose. So we have talked about before rules, and we've talked about a little bit about enforcement, internal dispute resolution. So today we're going to sort of combine those with our several different examples, right?
Oh, there's a ton.
Now, you like to talk about, well, what about fireworks? What kind of a problem is fireworks at associations? We're going to kind of compare and contrast individual owners lighting off fireworks in the association versus some other types of violations, probably architectural violations, the old dog barking one, the incessant dogs that are barking next to you. We're going to talk about how it relates with what an association can do, special individual assessments, enforcement. But we did want to talk about, so we're always going to have a new little short segment at the beginning that's going to be sort of the tip of the week, insightful comments that we hear from different people in our industry. Last week I talked about the manager who talked about, well, not everyone's going to like you at an association in your job as a manager or board member, and that means you're doing your job. If everyone likes you, you're not doing your job. I thought that was a really insightful comment.
That was Andrea Brown?
No, that
Who
was
was
not.
it?
That was Liz.
Liz.
Down in Kazakhstan,
Okay.
one of the greatest management companies, long-time management company down in Stockton.
Well, I had the right company, so I give myself a little bit of credit.
Yeah, and this one, I'd really like this one. So I was at a presentation last week at the Management Trust Cocal Division, and we're doing it with Valley Crest, with Catherine Wright at Valley Crest.
Yeah, that's a
and
big
also
company.
a fellow named Doug, Valley Crest, and that's a nationwide landscape company. This one's not really legal, but I thought it was really interesting in that a lot of associations are changing out lawns to bark. Right, Jonathan Fever?
Correct.
Right. So
you know what? We were driving through the lot this morning.
Yeah.
And you see all of the trees have this big pile of like mulch around the base of the tree.
right,
Is that
and
what
on
you're
the
talking
medians,
about?
that's exactly it. Putting down bark underneath trees on medians. It actually, the ones we saw today was a little bit ridiculous because they didn't do what Doug at Valley Crest said that you should do. That is, if you're going to go ahead and lay down mulch or bark, then what you should do is you should cut into the soil and make sort of an inset plate
Like
for
a pie crust.
like
Right?
a
When you
pie
set it in the
crust.
pan and you're going to make sure that you build everything up to the top.
Oh, you're making me hungry. Apple
know.
pie, yeah.
Oh, it's the
Later
4th
this
of
afternoon.
It's the 4th of
Yay,
July, so
fireworks,
I'm excited.
pie, yeah, soda, everything. And so the idea is that when the landscaper comes by, the blow and go, right, with a blower, they're not going to. The problem is when you put down bark, it leaves,
Mulch,
right?
yeah.
It goes away. It blows away. So if you cut in, you make sort of an inset, and then I think it's more likely that the bark will remain in place.
Yeah. Well, Doug was obviously a very, very professional and knowledgeable when it comes to some drought-saving tips.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he said he works with all the different water agencies, and they were one of the front runners in coordinating with these government agencies to be proactive and help conserving water, but also provide an aesthetically appealing landscape product.
Yeah,
and they do some
yeah.
work throughout the country that is just phenomenal. They had this big colored
Very
book
impressive.
with photos of all of the different prestigious parks and things that Valley Crest does landscaping for. So
And how about them board members at that presentation? I mean, they had to come over. It was 106 that day. They drove all the way down from places as far away as El Dorado and Elk Grove and all over the place to listen to us speak, and they really participated.
they
It
were
was
on the
great.
edge of their seat.
Yeah.
And our good buddy Bo Banks, being the genius that he is, what does he do for a good show? Provides popcorn. So they were just sitting there eating popcorn, just soaking it all in.
Bo Banks from the Management Trust Cocal Division.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, and I'm excited here. I just want to let everybody know before we go to break, Wally's going to be calling in from Foster City. You know our buddy Wally, president? And
Yeah, we love Wally. Great. How long has he
Knowledgeable.
been on the board? 34 years?
24, 34, a long, long time. So when we get back from the break,
Talk
Wally,
about insightful comments.
Oh, yeah. I even heard that he might be running for city council in Foster City, which is pretty exciting. So
We'll hear from Wally.
we'll hear from Wally.
Then we're going to talk about the different enforcements against nuisances, especially, you guys, one of the best tools associations have is special individual assessments.
Ooh, that word
special
makes people
individual
cringe.
assessments. We're going to talk about that, how boards can utilize that to their best.
Absolutely. When we get back, Wally and nuisances.
888-923-1380.
If your community association has a good relationship with their current management company, you can stop listening. However, if you are struggling with your current service provider, we'd love to talk with you to see if Omni Community Management would be a good fit. Transparency, education, communication, and trust are just 4 of the qualities that set Omni apart. This is Rolf Crocker, CEO of Omni. Call us at 916-965-8964. That's 916-965-8964. Online at omni-mgt.com. That's omni-mgt.com. Omni Community Management, your friend in the community association management industry for over 20 years.
Have you ever heard of the saying, a person's home is their castle? Of course you have. But sometimes a construction defect can turn your castle into a catastrophe. If this happens to you, you need proper and professional representation. You need Angius&Terry, LLP. For over 30 years, the attorneys at Angius&Terry have been effectively serving homeowners and community associations, recovering more than $500 million on behalf of their clients. Angius&Terry strives to ensure that your construction defect claims are prosecuted in an aggressive and cost-effective manner. Angus and Terry will also continue to work with homeowners and community associations after the construction defect claims are concluded to make sure that the money received from builders is spent wisely and that your interests are protected during the repair process. Don't let a construction defect turn your castle into a catastrophe. Call Angus and Terry LLP today at 916-567-1400. That's 916-567-1400. Online at angius-terry.com. Angus and Terry LLP.
AM 1380, The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angus and Terry LLP. And now your hosts Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380, The Answer.
And we're back. We're going to be talking with Wally in just a second, and then we're going to get into special individual assessments as a way to enforce. Special individual assessments, it's like a laser shot against violators.
Yeah, that is the word that nobody wants to hear. But here's a guy we want to hear from. Wally in Foster City, how are you doing?
Good, Jonathan. How are you? Happy 4th of July.
Oh, man, buddy, it's going to be a great day. It's 4th of July, and there's just a lot of good celebrations and things going on in America and just in homeowners associations in general. Is there anything special going on in your association, Wally, for the 4th of July?
Well, Jonathan, what we do is we have a very unique setting here at Isle Cove, and we're surrounded on one of the islands on water. And what we do every year is, of course, Foster City is one of the few areas now along the peninsula that actually does shoot off fireworks. They used to have it in Redwood City, and that's been eliminated. So really, we're the closest one. So what we do is we have a lot of people that rush into Foster City and want to watch the fireworks. So what we do is we have a beautiful area. Our HOA is divided into 3 phases, and Phase 2 is directly south of where the fireworks shoot. So what we did about 2 years ago, we built a little amphitheater that sits about 70, 80 people, and they can view the fireworks directly north of them, Jonathan. And what they do is they bring families. They're setting, they're setting up now with having picnics, barbecues, and around 8:30, 9 o'clock, the fireworks will start, and we'll see probably about 150 to 200 people that will get to that area and watch the fireworks. We do have security at our. We have 3 entrances, so homeowners have to show residency of proof of residency, and they're allowed 3 guest passes for parking to come in, and security does check that to make sure.
Proof of residency, huh?
Yeah.
What exactly do they have cards? I'm assisting a couple of associations actually right now, just coincidentally with Wally. This is Brad with cards, identification cards. Is that what you have, or how do you do that?
Well, what we do is they're issued a piece of paper that states who the guest will be, and the guest just shows proof by driver's license of that, and owners show their driver's license as they come in. And we also have what they call parking placards. Each homeowner here is issued 1 parking placard, so they can also use that if they park their cars in their garages. They can give that parking placard to a homeowner, or to a guest, I should say. But the guest still has to have the approval of the owner, stating that they have been approved to come in and visit them during this day, and that really kind of helps with parking. And really allows those people that are here to residents that are here to enjoy the day.
Man, Wally, it really seems like you guys just have everything dialed in down in Foster City, and what a sense of camaraderie for the community. It's kind of like that wholesome, old school tradition of getting everybody in the community together, and it sounds like you guys are going to just have a nice festive Independence Day, looking out at the water and watching, some fireworks.
We sure are. And the other nice thing we have, too, is a lot of the owners here have what they call the sailboats and Duffy boats, and they can take those to the areas, about 50, 60 yards where the fireworks are shooting. They have a safety zone that they rope off that boats aren't allowed. So a lot of the owners and guests will take their little boats and watch the fireworks right on the water. So it really is a really beautiful, beautiful day, and the setting is so gorgeous, and hopefully we get some weather. The problem we have here in Foster City is the day is nice, but usually when the fireworks shoot, Jonathan, the wind seems to come in and it tends to get a little cooler. But it doesn't stop the families and the kids, most importantly. They just love this day. So.
And it's great. Isn't that kind of what the sense of community is about, is a celebration like you're having?
It sure is, Jonathan. And again, that's why a couple years ago we decided to put this amphitheater, the board of directors, with the approval of the members, to put this nice little seating arrangement so people could come and enjoy. Before, it used to be on a boardwalk and on little sand areas. So we just felt that this would be a very, very nice little area for the members to see and to enjoy a holiday that really we thank our military for freedom and what we see.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Wally, let's shift gears a little bit. And let me come at you from left field about enforcement. Does your association have to enforce against, say, people, pets, and parking in any different ways? What's your insight on that? You've been on board a long time. Do you utilize fines or special individual assessments? You hold hearings, anything like that?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that, Jonathan.
Oh, that was Brad. Go ahead, Brad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, Wally, what we're talking about today is nuisances, so I want to come at you from a different angle now. Sure. And do you have issues with respect to people, pets, and parking? I'm sure you have. And have you addressed those through board hearings? Have you had to do that?
Oh, sure we have. That's been a big problem here because we live in a condo and what we find is a lot of people have used their garages for storage where they're not able to get cars in. So what we've done is homeowners that do show proof of clean garages that they actually can put either a 1 or 2 cars in, because some of the garages are 2 cars, some are 1 with a carport. We then allow them a parking placard only if they show proof that they've been able to park their 1 or 2 cars in there. If not, they don't receive a parking placard, and then they usually have to park along the street area because we want to free as much area in as we can for guest parking.
So your cc&rs, they say something like residents must park in their garages to the capacity before they can park outside? Something like that?
No, there really isn't any. No, No, we've been fairly lenient with that. I would have to say on HOAs, and I belong to another organization called United HOA. That tends to be one of the biggest problems that I've heard when all board members are asking, "What do you do for parking policies or enforcement of parking policies?"
I wish the board would just get their own tow truck, Wally, and start impounding vehicles, but
right.
that might get a little bit crazy.
Yeah, now we do that, though. Now, if their parking placard is not placed on a car and they don't have it after 1 o'clock, those cars that do not show a parking placard will be towed. And we do have about 8 to 9 cars towed a week.
Wow. And how hot and heavy are those owners when they show up and don't?
Those are pretty hot and heavy. Those are pretty hot and heavy. And it's a great question you ask too, because now we have a new board member that was towed about a year ago that got on the board, I think, for that reason. A lot of times you get board members that do show up for personal reasons.
Yeah, they've got an agenda, right?
Yeah. So he's coming up with a parking policy at the next board meeting. He wants to actually review that parking policy that we do have. Not to say that we shouldn't have some type of enforcement, but to be a little bit more user friendly if we can be, because of all the issues he's seen since he's been on the board with homeowners that have been towed. I'll tell you, the most interesting one, we had one about 2 years ago. We had a 49er lineman that was towed, and boy, when he came to our board meeting, about 330 pounds. I'll tell you, I hit the deck when I saw that one coming.
Yeah, talk about a board hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the sort of the hinge in that is, wow, should we tow or should we have a hearing? Should we try and go the easy way? And it's a really difficult decision for boards. The number one reason I believe that board members get sued in small claims is because of towing vehicles. It's like the Old West, It's no different than 1885, where if you're going to mess with a man's horse, you're going to be in trouble. Just
right.
Like today, someone's car, absolutely.
Yeah. We used to have a policy here where we used to, if we could locate the car. Another, we've had actually cars that have been towed when it's been right behind the garage door. The tow companies were so aggressive that we stopped that immediately, and then we just noted that if anybody was loading groceries, or if a car was out there and they had their blinkers on, to let that thing go. Don't tow because of that, unless it's in a fire lane. Then that's an automatic tow. So we really did loosen up a lot of it, because you're so right. The towing charge for a homeowner is anywhere from $350 to $440, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
wait, that's more than Sacramento area or Stockton area. Yeah, that's a big difference. That's significant. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wally, I want to ask you, with all of your experience and service for free that you've done on the board of directors in your community association, what's the most interesting and unique board hearing that you've had to attend? Something,
maybe
spicy. Maybe with the lineman.
With the 49er, yeah.
That I've had to attend for a board hearing.
What was the nuisance? What was the nuisance? And you go, oh my gosh, this is what this hearing's about. I can't believe this.
Oh, okay.
Let's keep it PG.
Oh, yeah. Plus, we don't mention in board hearings, you don't want to mention anyone's name, right? So keep it private, sure.
I would have to say there was a hearing we had because of an owner complaining about little kids playing in the street area, and she had put a formal complaint wanting to hear it before the board, and that was probably the one. A laughable one, and at the same time, it's kind of like when you live at HOAs. That's part of the thing you get into. But the mother and father came in with these three lovely kids that would supervise, and the owner was just so adamant to say, I don't want any noise under my window, and that was probably one of the more challenging.
That sure is, Wally. That's a challenging one because you have fair housing protections that residents have in associations. Can't be discriminatory familially, is how they put it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think in that case, the board really looks at that, and you still try to come up with some type of a solution for the owner that's there for the complaint too, to find out if you can find. We've had issues where we had mediations on the board where we have actually a third party that would come in at once we'd have the hearing. If we couldn't resolve it, we would bring a third party mediator in that would hear both sides, and that seems to help a little bit too with that. So it takes it out of the board's hands altogether, and it's a third party mediator. That's, in our cases, we have three attorneys that not are on the board, but we know that live here, and they volunteered to serve on that type of a committee to oversee that, which really helps out a lot of times.
Yeah, that's a nice technique. I know a number of associations that use that technique. It sort of takes the board a step away, and it makes it easier for a resolution. Why do we say at a board hearing, if the homeowner shows up, you're 90% there to resolving the dispute?
Right, exactly. I mean, you're so right, Brad, in stating that you want to take as much burden away from the board of directors, because homeowners, believe it or not, they love to look at suing board of directors, and they don't realize when they do that, they're actually suing themselves.
Suing themselves.
Hey, Wally, we hope that you have a great Independence Day.
You too, Brad.
Thank you for joining us.
Foster City. We always appreciate your insight and information. It's so valuable to our listeners, and we look forward to having you on the show again soon.
Our voice from the Bay Area.
Yeah, you too, Brad. You too, and your audience have a great 4th of July celebration too. Thanks so much again for your show.
Thanks, Wally.
Thanks, Wally.
Have a great day and weekend, guys.
Bye.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The nation's 239th birthday being celebrated today on the Washington Mall with the 2015 edition of a Capitol 4th. Event executive producer and founder Jerry Colbert tells SRN News he hopes attendees will treat the program as one big birthday party, and they've been doing it in the run-up to tonight's fireworks show.
They've had a great time. They've been singing, they've been dancing with the whole stars and crew.
And it all gets underway at 8 o'clock Eastern Time tonight. Representative Will Hurd spoke for the Republicans in their weekly radio address today. He noted that many people around the world are still very much against the very things America is celebrating this 4th of July.
Our principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, they represent everything our enemies want to destroy.
In his weekly address, President Obama said that Independence Day, Americans should remember the words of our founders when they declared independence and said people are equal.
We honor everyone who continually strives to make this country a better, stronger, more inclusive, more hopeful place.
Hot dogs and burgers may be on the menu today for many Americans, but it's a little hard to come by those kind of foods when you're a soldier serving overseas in Afghanistan or Kuwait. That's why retired Master Sergeant Mark Evans, president of Pizza for Patriots, organized to have some 5,000 pizzas delivered to Afghanistan.
The military takes good care of them, but guess what? Pizza is a signal. It's like a handshake from me to them or you to them.
Security on high alert in New York City this holiday weekend. Damien Caruso is a tourist from Australia paying a visit to Times Square.
I'm nervous because that's just me. I freak out about everything. But you can't limit yourself from enjoying July 4th when you hear things like that either.
And Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest taking place in New York's Coney Island in Brooklyn with competitors showing up from all over the world. This is SRN News.
Did you see the story about the Homeowners Association? I wonder what their residents think.
I don't know, but I love my condominium association. The place looks great and is well managed, and our property values are increasing.
Well, that's a good thing.
Community Associations Institute, CAI, has helped us build a great community. They have tools for safeguarding our investment, including education for our board and professional training for our manager. Just visit CAI at responsiblecommunities.com.
Okay, responsiblecommunities.com.
Hi, I'm Morgan Fussell. My company, Broadband Agreements, negotiates cable television and broadband right of entry, access, and compensation agreements for your communities. At Broadband Agreements, we offer a free review of all agreements with a signed letter of authorization. Broadband Agreements will improve your community's income and/or savings, or you don't pay us a dime. Visit us at broadbandagreements.com. That's broadbandagreements.com. Or call me, Morgan Fussell, directly at 916-939-5026. That's 916-939-5026. Broadband Agreements online at broadbandagreements.com. For 916-939-5026.
This is AM 1380, The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380, The Answer.
We're back, and it's looking like it's going to be another hot, balmy day in Sacramento. I've got a question for you, Epstein. Who are you taking today in the Coney Island hot dog eating contest? Because isn't that today? That's one of the biggest events of the year.
I am one of the biggest fans.
Who are you taking, Kobayashi or Joey Chestnut?
Joey Chestnut from San Jose. A couple years ago, I went to the Stockton Asparagus Festival. I ran in to get there on time to watch him with these 2-pound bundles of asparagus. It was deep fried asparagus. He just took it away.
What, do you have any idea? I just am curious. How many hot dogs is it generally that their ballpark that they're throwing down?
To
give their stomach a nuisance?
60, 96, says Frank. He's always right.
96 hot dogs.
He's got a mind like a laser.
All right. Well, Joey Chestnut from the Saturday HOA Brunch all the way on the west coast to the east coast. Good luck. We hope you take down Kobayashi in the hot dog eating contest if you haven't already. So, back to the topic.
Right, nuisances and enforcing against nuisances. So, you basically have a couple of ingredients there. First, you have the violation, right? And it could be, you like to talk about this week about fireworks and problems with fireworks.
Absolutely. In Sacramento County, fireworks are legal. My biggest question is, what is, how are you going to be cleaning up the mess if someone says, well, I'm just going to go light all my fireworks on this newly sealed common area road?
Yeah, I guess, right. Question number one, what is a violation? How do you determine whether something like that is a violation? You have to look to the governing documents.
Yeah, kids are standing on your lawn with sparklers. How about that?
The association can only enforce against different actions by residents if they are prohibited, restricted by the governing documents, most likely in your CC&Rs or your rules.
See, here's a great example of a way to prevent nuisances is if you take a look at Wally's association in Foster City, they have placards. It sounds like they have a document that shows what people are allowed in the association as guests. It's organized. They have an amphitheater where everybody's going to kind of meet and watch the event go on. So it seems like it's going to be pretty simple to have everybody enjoy a 4th of July, and there's not going to be a lot of business for the board to do in the coming weeks because they're organized.
Or at least the board will be able to provide proper enforcement because what's prohibited is in writing, and that's a requirement in California. In order for a rule to be enforceable, it needs to be in writing. It needs to be reasonable. It can't be in conflict with the governing documents. The proactive approach by boards of making a rule is very effective. And so what did the board have to do? They have to think of the rule. They have to send it out 30 days before the board adopts it at a board meeting. At that board meeting, the board has to allow comments by the owners, and then the board goes ahead and adopts the rule in that initial form or whatever they've decided at the meeting. And that's number one. So you got a violation. Is it a violation? If it's in conflict with a rule. Once you determine that.
Okay, so I just jumping back, it's like an open forum. So when the board sends out a new rule, right, and they're going to say, hey, we want to say that we're not going to allow, obviously they're legal in California, we're not going to allow bottle rockets or any fireworks that shoot in the air over 10 feet. Now, if there's a lot of patriotic residents there, they can go to this open forum essentially, and they can voice their opinion as a member before the rule is actually adopted.
That's right. So it makes it easy for a homeowner to give their input to a rule. So let's say there's an alleged violation, right? And so how does the board take action on that? They should have a procedure in place that enables the board to take action upon particular complaints. Maybe the procedure is that the board of directors is only going to take action on a violation if 2 owners make a written request, or if the management or board actually see it, such as an architectural violation, the board walks by it. Or that way you don't just get owners calling in anonymously and the board of directors is jumping all around trying to figure out what to enforce. Maybe just 2 written complaints by residents
or board members,
and that will trigger it, or board members or managers.
Now, here's a question. Then, what about also video recordings? Okay, a lot of community associations now at their entrances will put camera systems in. Now that is also
that could be effective because the cameras nowadays are getting so high tech. You can get a inexpensive system. I think the prices for security cameras has come down significantly. Also, a lot of the security service providers have their personnel wearing chest cameras.
Like a GoPro walking around?
Absolutely. And so that is really helpful in enforcement. I have had a recent experience where the owner was denying that their tenant was in any way violating. Denial. At the board hearing, out comes the video of the security personnel's chest cam showing this resident completely out of control. It was really something to see.
Amazing.
The proof is in the pudding. And so that's part of it. And that is the board say to me, well, how do we address a violation where it's sort of a he said, she said situation? And this is the next issue. When should a board go ahead and take care of a violation when it appears to be a homeowner to homeowner dispute rather than something that the board should take care of?
And you want to handle this in a simple fashion, because the last thing you want to do is trigger essentially a war between 2 homeowners, right? So you want to make sure you come to a clear, defined, reasonable resolution to resolve those issues. Is that correct?
Yeah, the resources that associations have are limited. So the board of directors can't spend their time and money, especially if they're going to hire an attorney, on some situation that appears just to be a fight between 2 homeowners. So kind of a rule of thumb, probably the standard of the industry is that a board of directors is going to take care of a violation if in fact it affects the common area, the common area, or more than one homeowner. The common area or more than one homeowner.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So I think if you had to guess with the 4th of July, if there was going to be nuisances, what do you think the common ones are going to be out here with the holidays? I think it's going to be fireworks. Fireworks. People lighting fireworks in the communities, on the streets, potentially leaving some sort of debris or residue on the roads. I mean, what if anything else? Obstruction, maybe obstructing the street while they're out lighting fireworks. The homeowner's trying to get into their garage and there's a big old sparkler tube going off in front of their driveway.
Yeah, sure. And we talked about that this week, and that's sort of a one-time event, and that could contrast with the violations that board members like to actually enforce, and that is sort of long-term ones, such as incessant dogs that are barking, say, during the weekday, during the day, again and again and again, or an architectural violation where an owner isn't taking care of something that they should take care of on their home. If they're not making repair, if they have, say, wrong window coverings, foil in the window, things of that nature. Sort of long-term. That's more in contrast to the one-time event at a 4th of July party.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, what are you going to do? Enforce a bunch of, you brought up pets, right? So on the 4th of July, the board's going to send out a bunch of letters because dogs were barking in the community, yet every other resident was lighting off a big old box of fireworks.
Right, that one makes sense. And so typically what a board will do is they'll send out a courtesy letter upon a violation, right? This is just a friendly letter to the owner saying that the owner or their tenant has been in an alleged violation. And this is very helpful in that it is politically easy for the board to do. It doesn't make the board seem too unreasonably restrictive. And so it's a good step. And also that takes care of probably about 80% of the violations. Most owners are going to take care of violations. That is about 80% of them upon the association informing the owner. That is the owner, I didn't know I was in violation. I didn't know my tenant was doing that. I'll take care of it. That's about 80%.
Yeah, before you just come in with the steamroller, there's always going to be, it sounds like, open arms of, hey, here's what you did wrong. Here's a real simple solution for how we're going to fix this and prevent this from happening in the future. It's not just, here's a subpoena, we're going to court.
Yeah, exactly. So you have the 20% left. Those are the owners who either will never comply and shouldn't even live at an association, or perhaps shouldn't live at it because they don't understand. They just have mental issues, and so it's not going to work out that they can actually be able to live in a community association. So you have those sort of two types of violators. And so there you go. You have the courtesy letter, and that last 20%, well, they're not complying. They're not complying.
They're just rebels.
Where do you go to next? You go to the hearing letter.
Yeah.
So this is the letter that needs to be sent to the owner. And you want to take a look at your cc&rs, because the law does provide that in order for an association to enforce against an owner's violation, the board of directors must hold a hearing.
A hearing.
However, the cc&rs or bylaws may have some particular requirements that you need to include in that hearing letter.
Okay.
All right. So once you send out the hearing letter, we'll come back and talk about the board hearing.
Oh, those are exciting. Okay, we'll be back for the fourth quarter. Happy 4th of July.
Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Morgan Fussell. My company, Broadband Agreements, negotiates cable television and broadband right of entry, access, and compensation agreements for your communities. At Broadband Agreements, we offer a free review of all agreements with a signed letter of authorization. Broadband Agreements will improve your community's income and/or savings, or you don't pay us a dime. Visit us at broadbandagreements.com. That's broadbandagreements.com. Or call me, Morgan Fussell, directly at 916-939-5026. That's 916-939-5026. Broadband Agreements online at broadbandagreements.com or 916-939-5026.
The challenges presented by today's economy and rebounding housing market is forcing many homeowners association boards of directors to operate their HOAs more like a business. It's a balancing act of trying to stay solvent and still provide homeowners with quality amenities and services. One of the main challenges HOA boards are facing is attempting to recover unpaid HOA fees owed by delinquent homeowners. Collection efforts are often very time-consuming. If you want to get the HOA fees collection monkey off of your back, call ATC Assessment Collection Group. ATC is an attorney-supervised collection company, providing collection and foreclosure services to HOAs in both California and Nevada's most recognizable communities. Get back to what you actually volunteered to do as an HOA board member. Effectively oversee your community. Call ATC today at 916-641-1410. That's 916-641-1410. Online at atcacg.com. That's atcacg.com. ATC Assessment Collection Group.
This is AM 1380, The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380, The Answer.
Well, our engineer, Frank Jolly, says we're not that exciting today. He says we need to crank it up a little bit.
That's like one of those alerts that you see when it comes across the TV. This is such and such county, and we want to let you know that there is a fire. What is that sound effect called?
That one is called Baby Talk.
Baby Talk. Okay, maybe we'll start another show. Could you imagine Baby Talk? Well, hearings, right? That's
all right. So what we have is we have an alleged violation, and the board of directors determined that it isn't in violation of the cc&rs. Maybe it violates a rule. The association sent out a
courtesy notice first,
and then the owner did nothing.
Yeah, they just totally stuck their your number one board of directors in the air, and
no compliance. Next step, the hearing letter. So state law provides that in order for a board to enforce against an owner, they must hold a hearing. That is before the board of directors is able to impose a fine, suspend rights such as the use of the recreational facilities,
voting privileges,
or being on the board,
right,
or to impose a special individual assessment.
Ooh, that's a nasty one right there, huh?
Right, or to take the steps towards a lawsuit, and we'll get to that in a second too. So in order for the board of directors to impose a fine, the association must have a fine schedule. So an association cannot go ahead and fine an owner without going ahead and first adopting some rules. Those rules must be sent out and with the annual statement, and the association can go ahead and enforce against an owner by fining the owner.
It's like a price sheet, essentially, for the fines. First violation, ding. Second violation, ding. Third violation, somewhat.
Exactly. And so it sets forth the different fines. The board of directors should look at the CC&Rs and bylaws to determine whether there's any ingredients they need to put into that hearing letter. But the hearing letter should state the date, time, and location where the hearing is going to be held. It, by law, must state that the owner can attend and address the board of directors. That's the idea. What did I say earlier? That is that if a owner attends the hearing, you're 90% there to resolving the violation.
Well, but my question is, isn't there a new little law that came out that says the homeowner can bring their attorney to the hearing?
Well,
right?
Actually, that is
that old?
That's internal dispute resolution, IDR. That's a little bit different. That's when an owner and association say, let's meet and confirm formally. At that type of a meeting, it's not intended that there be a fine imposed, so it's a little bit different.
Okay.
That's the IDR. That is if the board of directors cannot resolve a violation. So I would say the board hearing comes first. So at the board hearing, we talked about special individual assessment, and that is a very strong tool that boards have in order to enforce against an owner. If you look in the Davis-Sterling Act, you're not going to see the word special individual assessment. It's because in the Davis-Sterling Act, it only addresses special assessments and regular assessments. Now, sometimes a special individual assessment is called something else like an enforcement assessment or a reimbursement assessment. We're going to call it special individual assessment. And so you have to look at your CC&Rs to see if it has the ability for board of directors to impose special individual assessment, which is an assessment imposed against a particular owner to reimburse the association for the cost that the association incurs to compel the owner to comply or to reimburse the association for the costs that the association incurs to repair some damage in the common area or damage to components that the association is obligated to maintain, repair, and replace. Let me just repeat that, and you can answer your question, Jonathan
I'm ready.
Fever.
I'm loading up over here.
And so, especially individual assessment, look in your CC&Rs, and it will provide whether the association can impose a special individual assessment against a particular owner for costs that the association incurs. Say the association has to pay an attorney to take some action, say to write the hearing letter, attend the hearing, or send the post-hearing letter. The association can get reimbursed by an assessment against a particular owner.
They got to pay for it. Okay, so you mentioned, you got to look at your CC&Rs and see if there is actually something in there that says that you can do a special individual assessment. Have you ran into any CC&Rs of late that don't have that in the governing documents?
I have, and those are old association CC&Rs.
Time for some updates?
Yeah, time for some revision or amendment of the CC&Rs. That is where it was never contemplated. They might be original ones. So there's a lot of associations with original CC&Rs. And
chipped in stone.
Yeah, chipped in stone from days of gone. And it is a tool that you're neglecting to have, because the idea is that when you impose a fine against an owner, a lot of owners know, well, big deal. You cannot record or foreclose on a lien based on the fine. So why would an owner pay a fine? A lot of them know. You fine me, I'm not going to pay it. Big deal. What are you going to do about it? You would have to take me to court. You're not going to do that over this barking dog issue. So you need a little bit more leverage against those recalcitrant owners, and that is a special individual assessment.
And if you don't have it in your documents, then good luck, right?
Right. Word to the wise also, sometimes you'll have in your CC&Rs the ability to impose a special individual assessment. However, you don't have the ability to record or foreclose on a lien based on the assessment. The idea is that the state law provides that associations may record and foreclose on liens based on regular and special assessments. Your monthly assessments, quarterly assessments, yearly assessments, and that's, the dreaded special assessment when the association imposes an assessment against all the owners for some kind of amount that the regular assessments did not come to. So
and if
it's a special assessment rather than a regular assessment, especially individual assessment that's against a particular owner. And you got to see, Jonathan Fever, whether or not the CC&Rs allow the association to record and foreclose on a lien. The association's never going to need to foreclose on a lien on a special individual. It never happens, but it's that leverage to get compliance.
I'm just chuckling because if the board ever wants more attendance in the meetings, that it's always nice to send out an invitation with the word special assessment on it, correct? That's when you seem to, when everything comes down to money.
Well, of course, right?
People start to come out of the woodwork and they want to be involved and pretend like, oh no, there's got to be.
They're not pretending though. So owners care, and they're
well, they care.
And a lot of so we joke, we say that owners don't show up for board meetings, they don't show up for annual meetings. You know what that means? That means that they're happy, that they believe that board of directors is running the ship right.
No, that is true.
Right. So Jonathan, what you're illustrating is just the point that owners are going to show up. And they're going to show up in droves if you're going to increase assessments or impose a special assessment. So the special individual assessment, check out your CC&Rs for that one, because when you hold the hearing, then you have that discussion with the owner, because again, you get the owner to show up, then you are 90% there to resolving. At that hearing, you can have an attorney present, and it's one of the most enjoyable things I do, because then I get to resolve a situation with an association. And I could look at that homeowner in the eye, and board of directors as well, and they could ask the homeowner, are you in violation? Do you understand what we believe the allegations are? And it's not a kangaroo court. It really isn't. It is a situation where the board of directors and the homeowner can talk about the violation, because two sides to every story, right?
There is two sides to every story, but it is cost effective, the process, right? As long as it's resolved during that hearing.
True.
Avoid the lawsuit.
Right. And the special individual assessment, again, that is a reimbursement of the attorney's fees. So the association pays the attorney to assist the board of directors in the hearing letter, and in that case, the association can be reimbursed. The hearing is held. Post-hearing letter is sent. We're almost done with our process here, and that ties things up, right? That goes ahead and buttons things up with the owner. Here's what we decided, or here's what we agreed, and so we can resolve it. And
Boom.
what we could talk about next time or thereafter is what happens if you don't resolve it at the board hearing with the hearing letter. You might have to go to IDR, what you said, internal dispute resolution, that meet and confer.
Okay.
Or ADR, alternative dispute resolution, or if need be,
court.
Yeah.
So, hey, let's give a shout out to everybody that helps make it so that we have this great country and we can celebrate the 4th of July, right? All of our soldiers overseas and here in the States. Big plans tonight, Epstein?
Oh, yeah, going to go see our car, number 27, race in Placerville, our sprint car.
New kid, Justin Sanders. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks, listeners.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Saturday HOA Brunch, presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. Please sit back, relax, and join Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick for an hour of entertaining information about HOAs and HOA law.